Live streaming on YouTube from the Smart Force Student Summit at the International Manufacturing Technology Show, the largest show of its kind in the entire Western Hemisphere. My name is Matt Kirkner, and I am the host of the Tech Ed Podcast. I am about to introduce you to one of my absolute favorite people in all of technical education. When we talk about inspiring the next generation toward careers in STEM, toward careers in industrial manufacturing, when we talk about Industry 4.0, smart sensors, smart devices, data analytics, virtual reality, augmented reality, all of these amazing technologies that are revolutionizing the world of advanced manufacturing, it is absolutely the greatest time in the history of humankind to be employed in the world of advanced manufacturing, to be working in STEM and technical education. And our next guest is someone who's doing exactly that. We're going to have him tell you all about his position and all about his job as an industrial Internet of Things technician in just a little bit. Could you believe that that's even a job, industrial Internet of Things technician? David Aguirre works at Gateway Technical College. Gateway is headquartered in the southeast part of my home state of Wisconsin. And David, I want you to just start out by telling our listeners today, if they're not a little bit familiar with what goes on at Gateway, what is Gateway Technical College? Tell us about your institution.
Yeah, so Gateway Technical College is a technical college that really, supports our community. We cover various, locations in Wisconsin, and what we really focus on is giving the opportunity to students to be able to really learn new and innovating technologies, and not only learn about the technologies, but seeing how they can go ahead and implement them in a real-world environment.
It's such a great institution. I spent time with your current president, who's retiring later this year, Brian Albrecht, a great friend of the Tech Ed Podcast, a great friend of technical education as well. And Brian, as a matter of fact, is a former guest on the Tech Ed Podcast. He was with us very early on at the beginning of 2021. He's somebody that I've gotten to know very well. He will be replaced later this year, most likely, by, I think they've got it narrowed down to 4 candidates as we record this episode. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens in the future of Gateway. One of the things that I had the opportunity to do with Brian, and we really sat down, it was a couple years, I think, before you were involved with the institution back in 2017, David, and we said, education is changing, industry is changing, we've got the advent of Industry 4.0, all these technologies that we talked about in the introduction. We've got to figure out a way to prepare the next generation of advanced manufacturing technicians, of electromechanical technicians, of roboticists, of robot operators and programmers, and that led to the place where you work, which is the IMET Center at Gateway Technical College. It's in Sturtevant. If you haven't been there, you're a listener, you just got to see this place. I would argue and continue to argue that it is the most advanced Industry 4.0 learning center anywhere in the country, maybe anywhere in the world, and certainly at that technical and community college level. It's a magical place, and you get to work with all these incredible technologies day in and day out. Give our audience a sense for the types of technologies you're interacting with at work.
Yeah, so my focus is obviously the industrial Internet of Things, but we have a lot of robots in various centers and locations. We've got connected systems. As we transition to the importance of what Industry 4.0 is, it's really important to have that that background of technology for their students to go ahead and interact with. So it's nice to be able to see and understand concepts, but also have that equipment there ready and available for them. So we work a lot with robotics, connected systems, cyber-physical systems, and just kind of focusing a little bit on IoT. We can kind of see in the past 10 years how things have been more connected, right? We think of the traditional IoT, the Internet of Things.
Right.
At our home, a couple years back, the only focus of connectivity was maybe our computer and one other object.
Right.
But now we just think of how many connected systems we have at our home, right? We have everything from our ovens to our stoves to our vacuums to our TVs. We have all these connected systems, but now what we're seeing is the importance of transitioning them into the industrial sector.
Okay.
So now we're able to go ahead and show our students that's things that they're growing up with, right? These connected systems, but now how you can go ahead and implement these connected systems into the industrial sector. So what we really focus on is these connected systems, such as robots, IoT, gateways. We have our CNC machines, but now what we're doing is we're seeing how we can go ahead and extract all that information push that up to a server, and then digest that information to be able to prevent downtime, because that really is that gold standard of Industry 4.0, being able to prevent downtime from even happening in the first place.
Absolutely. We're here at IMTS. It's the largest manufacturing technology show in the Western Hemisphere. It's got a huge focus on CNC, huge focus on machining. I know as you were walking around the show today and seeing all kinds of really cool advancing technologies, there's a lot of machine tool builders, a lot of industrial controls companies here. And so it's interesting when we think about a machine tool and you think about the amount of data that you are able to gather off of that machine tool. What I mentioned to an audience the other day when I was keynoting an event is that it's really of all the types of manufacturing technology, there's so much information. What mode is it in? Speeds, feeds, temperatures, tool condition, part condition, cycle time, last part condition, quality information. I mean, you can make a list as long as your arm about all this technology and all of this information and data that we can pull off of just a machine tool. So in your particular case, we're here in the FANUC booth at IMTS. We'll give them a plug. I know you've got at least 4 robo drills in that at the IMET Center, in addition to all the other machine tools that you have there. So you're really able to pull that data off and then put it up to the cloud. You've got, which students in your programs are benefiting from that? Is it just the students in advanced manufacturing, or who gets access to that information?
No, so yeah, that's a great question, Matt. I mean, so our School of MEIT, Manufacturing, Engineering, and Information Technology, they all have access to that data, and they all use it to their specific discipline. So our IT students for our data analytics, for instance, just to give you an example, we have our computer integrated manufacturing lab with Amatral Enterprise System, all of our connected systems, and right next door to that, we have our data analytics room. So our students that would normally be on the computer all day, they now get to see where all that data is coming from. So we have a really great setup when it comes to that. So really all of our students in the School of MEIT can take advantage of that.
And it's just a great example of what we talk about as the OT-IT convergence. So information technology, operations technology. In my days of manufacturing, those were 2 different departments. Never shall the 2 meet. There's never any overlap. And now we're in this world where you really can exist in one without existing in the other. And to your point, having those 2 labs right next to each other, where you've got IT students that are watching the sim system with its FANUC robots, its Amatral mechatronic systems. It's got some technology from APT Manufacturing Solutions, which just happens to be right next to us here at IMTS, in the form of that MTech Sim, the simulated machining process that you have there. And so your students are getting exposure to all of this technology. None of that happens without people kind of working in the college and making sure that technology is available, operating, innovating, improving, evolving. That's really your job in many ways as an IIoT technician. I'm sure people who are listening to the podcast today are like, my goodness, I didn't even know that was a job that somebody could have, doing IIoT at a technical college. So tell us about your job. What is it that keeps you busy all day?
Yeah, so I got kind of an interesting position, right? Because I work on the IT side of things. My day-to-day, I work on the network and security side, but at the same time, I work for the academic, for the School of MEIT, being able to go ahead and see these new and evolving technologies and how we can go ahead and incorporate it into the classroom. So that's kind of my day-to-day, right? Making sure things are secure. I mean, in the past, we focused of, connectivity to a machine. The only thing that you have to worry about in a traditional sense was the data, but now you have these cyber physical systems that are industrialized, so we have these robotic arms that could run at full speed and could potentially cause harm. So how do we make sure our network is secure in the sense that we make sure that no one is going into our networks and attacking a human in that sense, right? So that's one really, one thing that we really focus on is that security aspect of things. One other thing I'd like to kind of bring up, Matt, is what's nice is we have that equipment, but at the same time we kind of think of, all right, how do we teach the next generation of students to extract information when they might not be able to do so because of the equipment that might be lacking when they go to a job environment, right? So we kind of think of the businesses that perhaps have a whole bunch of CNC machines, have a lot of robotics, but they can't simply switch out those machines every 2, 3, 5 years like we would with a computer or a cell phone. How do you go ahead and help those employers still extract information and take advantage of technology?
Sure.
So what we do is we help the students learn how to use the industrial Internet of Things, how to connect it to like a gateway to a specific machine.
Right.
And then that way they can go ahead and instead of paying a lot of money, to go ahead and change the controllers of a CNC machine. They're able to extract information using the industrial Internet of Things on a machine level. That data that would originally be siloed, now we can extract that information and then pull it up to the cloud or pull it up to one of our servers using a communication protocol or some type of architecture such as OPC UA, and then they can do that at the location of their employment too. So
absolutely, and it's really, really important as we talk to companies, especially given this week that we're at IMTS in the machining space, contract machinists, machining companies, OEMs that have extensive machining operations. A lot of these companies, some of them can, but most of them can't afford to just go buy all new machine tools, right? So I've got this piece of equipment that I already have, and I want to be able to extract as much data as possible. And so now through the convergence of technology and talent, it's using gateways, it's using OPC UA, it's pushing that up as I know you do to MT-Link-I, and then gathering that information or pushing it off to whether it's a spreadsheet or it's Power BI to be able to visualize that data, showing your students how to do that while they're in technical college, while they're at a community college. Now they're taking that knowledge back to their employer and helping that employer evolve into the world of Industry 4.0 in a way that is keeping up with the rest of technology, keeping up with the rest of the market, but not requiring millions and millions of dollars of investment. So credit to you for doing that, David. It really is just an incredible program that you have there. We have a short period of time here left. We're on the back end of the student summit here on our Thursday, and I know they'll be shutting things down before long. But before we do that, I want to make sure that we left a little extra time here for you. And we're going to ask you the same question we ask all of our guests here on the Tech Ed Podcast. We were all a high school sophomore once. At some point, we'll have a high school freshman, and then we won't be able to ask them that advice. But until then, what advice would you give to that 15, 16-year-old student? They're just trying to figure out life, figure out where things go. If you could give them one piece of advice, what is it?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Matt. So, kind of thinking back to my personal history and seeing what I would tell myself a few years back, I kind of went into the medical field as an interpreter, and then I transitioned over to IT. But what really fascinated me all along was IT, connected systems, really what the Internet of Things is now. But I think I would tell myself, go ahead and chase what you truly have a passion for, because really when you do what you really enjoy to do on a day-to-day basis, it's not like you're working in a day of your life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would just tell you, you might hear from one person or the other person what you should do or what you should study for, but really see and look and focus on your passions, and then from there study for that passion, and then you'll be able to work in an enjoyable environment doing something that you really truly enjoy doing every day of your life.
And you absolutely have that job, and I know you do. And I know not just because you say it, but because of the level of energy and commitment that you bring to that job day in and day out. I know you'd love to host as many people at Gateway Technical College as would love to come see you. So don't just use this podcast as the example of the great things happening there. Go visit. And I know David and his team would welcome with open arms anybody interested in seeing the most advanced Industry 4.0 Learning Lab anywhere in the United States. Credit to you and your team, David, for being a part of that, and credit to you for taking some time out of your busy day here at IMTS to be with us on the Tech Ed Podcast.